Let's talk about After Effects expressions. So I recently made a short that was all about using artificial intelligence to write After Effects scripts. So what are After Effects expressions? These are just lines of code written in JavaScript that you can use to control the values of After Effects. I asked ChatGPT to list out 5 basic expressions, giving their functions, then how to implement it in After Effects. The first being the wiggle expression, the next the loop, then we have the value at time, the linear and the time expression. So I'll go through all of these expressions, explaining it with some examples of how to use the various expressions. So without much further ado, let's get started with the video. Before I start talking about all of the expressions, I'll first of all show you how you can access all of the expressions in After Effects and how to activate the expression window. So right here in After Effects, I have this layer right here, which if I select the layer, then if I use any of the expressions, starting from the position, the scale and the rotation, I can activate the expression window. I hold Option or the add on the windows. Then I press on this stopwatch icon on the scale property or position or rotation, any property that you have. You will see this window that has opened. So this is where you type in all of the expressions or even some scripts if you have some. Now to access all of the expressions in After Effects, if you click on this icon here, that's the expression language menu. If you move to this global, you will see all of the expressions. But the only thing is that After Effects is not guiding you on how to use it. The expressions are just there. It's now left for you to go and find out on how to use this expression. So the first expression I'll now be talking about is the wiggle expression. So what's a wiggle expression? It just gives a shaky effect to the layer and it takes in 2 parameters, the first being the frequency and the second one being the amplitude. So what's the frequency? It just determines the number of times you want the effect to occur, and the amplitude determines the amount or the distance that you want it to occur. So if I type in wiggle, then I put in the 2 parameters, the first being the frequency, which I'll set it to 5, the amplitude I'll set it to about, let's say, 20. And when I play this, you see the effect taking place on the layer. Let's say if I change the amplitude to about, let's say, 100, you'll now notice the difference as it scales out with more distance. So if I also change the frequency, it will now be faster than before. Let me set the frequency to about, let's say, 20 and test it out. So that's it about the wiggle expression. You can apply these to like your position, the rotation, and the scale. Pretty easy. The next expression I'll be talking about is the loop expression. The loop expression has so many other options like the loop in and loop out, but I'll be demonstrating it using the loop out expression. I already have a layer and I've set in 2 keyframes for the position that it animates from here to here. So I want to apply the loop expression. So it keeps looping over and over throughout the time duration. Activate my expression window and I'll type in loop. When I type in loop, you see there are different options starting from the loop in duration, loop out, and loop out duration. So I'll be using the loop out expression here and I hit OK. It defines how you want the loop to occur. So the first parameter I'll be talking about is the ping pong. And to add the parameter, you need to open your inverted commas. And immediately as you type it, you will see the various parameters starting from continuous, circle, offset, and ping pong. So let's say if I use this ping pong here, what this does is that it will loop from the first keyframe to the second keyframe. Then the second time you want to loop, it will start from the second to the first, and it does that over and over. Next is a circle. So for the circle parameter, it loops from the first keyframe to the second keyframe, then back again to the first keyframe to the second keyframe. So that's the difference between the circle and the ping pong. For the circle, it does not go from the second keyframe to the first keyframe. It just starts from the first to the second keyframe over and over. So let's test out this other parameter called the continue. So with the continue parameter, it just loops it from the first keyframe, then to the second keyframe, and it keeps going over and over. So the next expression is the value at time. So what the value at time does is that it takes the value of a layer and set it to another layer. And I'll show you how you can do that. I have the composition set up and I have 2 layers. The first being the one I've animated and the second being the one I want to set in the value of one of these animated keyframes to. So what this animation does is that it moves the ball from the start through some certain keyframes to the end. I want this top layer to have the value of this ball here when it's at 2 seconds. And I animated this layer with a time frame of 4 seconds. At 2 seconds, I want this top layer to have the value of this layer below. And to do that, I'll use the value at time expression. To use the value at time expression, you need to first of all select the layer that you want to copy the value from. Then you apply it to the layer that you want. So I'll open the expression window here. Then I'll type in discom.layer to select the layer. So the name of this layer below is main. So here in the layer function, I'm going to say main. Then I move out. I say dot transform dot position. Then after setting the position, it's time to set in the value at expression. So you just say dot value at time. The value at time works with just seconds. So if I put 2 here, it understands that it's 2 seconds. So I made an error with the script here. You need to put in the name of the layer inside an inverted comma, open and close. So as immediately as I leave out of this expression window, you'll see that this top layer has the value position of the bottom layer at 2 seconds. Let me see if I put this playhead at 1 second, this is where it is. Then 2 seconds, it's here. So let's say if I change this expression, go to the expression and change this, let's say at 4 seconds. It now moves the position at 4 seconds. Let me bring the playhead at 4 seconds. You see that the circle and the square has the same position at that same time. So this is very useful. You can play around with it to know more about it and how you can use it in your animations in After Effects. So next is the linear expression. So what's a linear expression? First of all, it takes in either 3 sets of values or 5 sets of values. Now, starting with the 5 set of values, how does it work? Say for example, I activate the position here. And with this position, I'll be working with the X and Y axis. If you want to separate the position to X and Y, if you right click on the position, you will see something like separate dimensions and stuff like that. You will now have the X and Y. So working with this X position here, I'll activate the expression window again. Then inside the expression window, I'll type in linear. Then inside the linear, I'll start with the time to define the time, separated by a comma. And I want to animate this layer from out of this composition to the center of the composition. And I'm working with a 1920 by 1080 composition. So the first position should be at 0, which will be out. Then the second position should be at 960. So as you can see, at the position 0, this is where it is, out of the composition. And when I play this, it animates from here to here. So this is for the 3 value arguments. Now for the 5 value arguments, it now defines how you control the time. And to add that, I'm just going to say it will animate from 0 seconds to, let's say, around 2 seconds. So that's the time duration. It has to animate from here to the center of the composition in 2 seconds. Immediately as you see that the playhead is at 2 seconds, that's when it reaches the center of the composition. So you can change the time to, like, say, about 3 seconds and see. So when the playhead is at exactly 3 seconds, that's when the ball reaches the center of the composition. You can also use this linear expression on the opacity and even the rotation. And I'll demonstrate it using the opacity. And to open the opacity property, you press T on your keyboard. Then I'm going to type in linear time. Then let's say the time duration should be from 0 to 2 seconds. Then it should animate from 0 opacity to 100. And that's it. As you can see, it animates within that time duration perfectly. You can play around with this linear expression, just changing the values. But the main thing you should understand here is that it works with, first of all, the first thing you should understand is the time. You need to set in the time duration. You don't want to control the time at which it animates. You can just set in the value that you animate. Like for this example, which it animates from 0 opacity to 100 opacity. So next expression is the time expression. The time expression is very easy to understand. This is the easiest expression. So with the time expression, you want this to rotate throughout this composition's time. Pressing R on my keyboard and activating the expression window. Then I type time. Let's say times, let's say 40. And just keep rotating throughout the time duration. Why did I multiply it by 40? I multiply it by 40 so that this will increase the speed of the animation. If I just set time, it will just rotate within this composition's time frame, and you will not really see anything significant. So that's it for today's video. Hope you learned something new today. As I went through some basic expression, starting from the wiggle expression, the loop out expression, then the value at time, the linear and the time expression. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next one. And as always, keep editing.